Hi everyone, and we're back with another chapter of I Hunt Killers. We are on chapter 7, part 2. Before we begin, we're going to take a deep breath in and begin. Sure enough, school was torture. Jazz wanted nothing more than to get back out to the field. With every hour that passed, with every minute that passed, the field was reverting to its natural state, losing any remaining evidence. If Howie hadn't lost his nerve last night, well, no point thinking about that now. He wanted to get out there and poke around, ideally in the hours before sunrise, to see the field the way the killer had seen it. But school dragged. Jazz didn't like school, but not for the usual teen reasons. He didn't like school for the same reason that he didn't like any situation where he was surrounded by people. It's like this, he'd explained once to Connie. If someone gave you a single rose, you'd be happy, right? They had been sitting in Jazz's Jeep at the nearby state park. Connie had feigned confusion, peering in the glove compartment, twisting to look in the back seat. I don't see a rose. There's no happiness here. Okay, he went on. Now imagine someone gives you 10,000 roses. That is a whole lot of roses, she said. That's too much. Right, too much. But more than that, it makes each individual rose much less special, right? It makes it hard to pick one out and say, that's the good one. And it makes you want to just get rid of all of them because none of them seem special now. Connie had narrowed her eyes. Are you saying when you're at school, you just want to get rid of everyone? It wasn't that. Jazz wished he knew how to explain it. It wasn't a matter of wanting to kill people. It was simply that when there were so many people, didn't they seem, well, expendable? With 1,500 students at Lobel's Nod High, would anyone really notice if a few went missing? The more people there were around him, the less personal they became, the less real. People matter. It was a tough lesson. It was the opposite of what Billy had taught Jazz all his life. All these people, you see 'em, Billy would say at a ball game, or at a park, or in a movie theater or mall. All these people aren't real. They don't have real lives. They don't have hearts. They don't matter. Only you matter. Lots of people had crappy childhoods, Connie had told him. Some of them even grew up the same way as a serial killer, but they didn't turn into serial killers. It's not like there's a manual you can follow and it makes a kid grow up to kill people. If anyone would know how to custom design a sociopath, it's Billy, Jazz had said. But you don't want to kill people, she'd said with finality, and Jazz had let the conversation die right there, because the only honest response would have been, it's not that I want to or don't want to. It's just, I can. I could. I imagine it's like being a great runner. If you knew you could run really fast, wouldn't you? If you were stuck walking somewhere, wouldn't you want to let loose and run like hell? That's how I feel. Instead of saying any of that, he'd let it go and then sent Connie a dozen red roses the next day, with one rare blue rose at the center of the bouquet. Money he could ill afford to spend, but it felt somehow necessary. The card read, "You'll always be my special rose." He didn't know if the sentiment was romantic or corny as hell. He strongly suspected the latter. But Connie ate it up, and since the whole point of the gesture was to make her happy, Jazz counted it as a win. Sometimes his programming simulated human emotions pretty well, and sometimes he convinced himself that it wasn't programming at all. On Mondays, between calculus and biology, he had 5 minutes to kill. 5 minutes when his schedule jibbed with Connie's. They connected outside her history class, as they always did on Mondays. Today, she was wearing jeans and a pink t-shirt that stretched across her chest, reading, "Contains 0% plastic." He moved in for a quick kiss on the lips. "Dent!" barked Gomez. "PDA!" Jazz threw his arm around Connie's shoulders. "Aw, come on, Mr. Gomez," he said with just the right amount of swagger in his voice. "Could you resist?" Jazz could read people. and he had a pretty good suspicion that Albert Gomez entertained some R-rated, at the very least, fantasies about the girls in his class. So he didn't outright accuse him of anything, just poked right at the tender spot. Mr. Gomez cleared his throat nervously, music to Jazz's ears, and wiped out an imaginary bead of sweat on his upper lip. "Just watch it, okay?" he said, and suddenly found something else to occupy his attention. "That was mean," Connie said, as they found a spot against the wall to lean and talk. "He's not a bad guy." "Yeah, right," Jazz thought. "I was just being honest. How could anyone resist?" He moved to run a hand through her cornrows, then pulled back, remembering the one time he tried that. Connie had lectured him on the 11th commandment. "Thou shalt not touch thy black girlfriend's hair. Ever." He kissed her again instead, quickly and out of the visual range of any random teacher drones. Drones. Not good. People matter. Especially Connie. Connie, with her soft lips, her wicked grins, her dark eyes that couldn't see into his soul, but still made him jump a little inside whenever they roamed his way. Her hair, off limits to touch, but not to his other senses, entranced him. Jet black, shoulder length, tightly coiled like powerful springs, smelling slightly of chemicals and cinnamon, the beads at the end of each braid clicking together as she walked. It was as if she bound up limitless energy in those braids, and he couldn't imagine what it would be like to release it. Her skin was soft to the touch and the color of, well, who cared about color? She was the color of Connie. Beautiful. For his part, Jazz knew he was handsome. It had nothing to do with looking in the mirror, which he rarely did. It had everything to do with the way the girls at school looked at him, the way they became satellites when he walked by, their orbits contorted by his own mysterious gravity. If attention could be measured like the Doppler effect, girls would show a massive blue shift in his presence. In the last year or so, he had even remarked the scrutiny of older women, teachers, cashiers at stores, the woman who delivered UPS packages to his house. What had once been a maternal flavor in their glances had taken on a lingering, cool sort of appraisal. He could almost hear them thinking, not yet, but soon. Despite his upbringing, despite the infamy of his father, they still watched him. Or maybe because of it. Maybe how he was right about bad boys. None of this mattered to him, except that it made getting his way fairly easy. Most guys were cowed by him, and most women were attracted to him. As long as he could exploit that, he had a pretty easy time of it. Prospects are there for you and for me, Jasper. That's what they exist for. Get it? "Howie told me what you guys did last night," Connie said, shutting up Billy's voice in his head. "Not cool." "I knew I should have killed that kid when I had the chance," Jazz said lightly, then immediately regretted it when he saw the expression on her face. "Not funny?" he asked. "Not when you say it. You don't know how to joke like that." She thought for a moment, her warm, dark eyes searching him for what? He didn't know. "You should probably never joke like that." "Okay." Connie gave good lessons in being human. But it needed to be done. We had to go in there. Connie patted Jazz's shirt front and frowned. "Nope, not there. Let me see your wallet." Mystified, he put his wallet into her outstretched hand. She flipped it open. "Well now," she said, looking at the picture of her that he kept there. "That is one fun-looking honey. But, no, I don't see it here either." "See what?" "The badge Tanner gave you when he made you a deputy," she said, shoving his wallet at his chest. "Don't do stupid things, Jazz. And don't make me go all psycho girlfriend on you. I don't want to, but I will." The bell rang, and Connie darted for her class. Jazz fumbled his wallet back into his pocket and hightailed it to biology. Jazz didn't see Connie again until the end of the day, when they met at the auditorium for rehearsal. The new drama teacher, Ms. Davis, she actually insisted that her students call her Ginny, was bringing the Crucible to life in the Lobos Nod High stage, and Jazz had been encouraged by Connie to audition. Result? He was now stuck every afternoon rehearsing with a bunch of kids he really didn't care about, all to act out a role, Reverend Hale, that he found sort of annoying and wishy-washy, not to mention hopelessly naive. There was a moment early in the play where Hal, an expert on witchcraft, haughtily brandishes his book and asserts that here is all the invisible world, caught, defined, and calculated, as if it could be that easy. Connie was no longer annoyed with him by the time they connected after the last bell. They spent the 15 minutes before the end of school and the beginning of rehearsal feverishly kissing and groping back in the wings behind a leftover mat painting from an old production of Grease. Or maybe she'd never been annoyed with him at all, he thought. Sometimes he couldn't get a read on Connie's emotions. Maybe it was a guy-girl thing. He hoped that's all it was. What if it was a predator-prey thing? A human thing? What if he was losing his connection to her? God, don't let that be it. Connie was one of the few anchors that kept Jazz's sanity firmly moored. Losing any one of them would be disastrous. But losing Connie in particular, he knew, would be catastrophic. "Are you all right?" she asked, her fingers lightly stroking his cheek. "Fine." "'Cause it's like you're not even here. Your tongue just stopped." "Sorry, I was thinking." He kissed her again, and this time he forced himself not to think while he did it. This was how normal people kissed, without thinking. "Everyone on stage," Ginny shouted from the house. "Come on now." Jazz and Connie joined the rest of the cast on stage. Today they were running through the last scenes of the play, so Connie, who was playing Tituba, didn't have to be there the whole time, but she always stayed through every rehearsal. Of the two of them, Connie was the drama geek, and would have watched rehearsals even if she didn't have a part in the play. Now she sat in the front row with Ginny and watched Jazz in a scene close to the end of the play, as Reverend Hale argues and pleads with Judge Danforth to release the heroic John Proctor from jail and stay his execution. In the play, Hale starts out as one of the main proponents of the witch trials in Salem, but later comes to regret his part in them. As the play and John Proctor's life near their end, Hale rants in the jail, begging Danforth to reconsider and spare Proctor so that he will not join the others who've died already at the hands of the Puritans. If Proctor can live, then maybe Hale can be redeemed. "There was blood on my head!" Hale screams at Danforth, pleading with him. "You won't just be saving Proctor's life," he's saying. "You'll be saving my soul too. Can you not see the blood on my head?" It was a great moment, and Jazz and Eddie Vigaro, the kid playing Danforth, turned up the volume on it this rehearsal, really clicking for the first time. Danforth stood stone-faced and immobile, glaring out at the audience as Hale, a twitchy, fidgety mass of tics and guilt-induced pacing, roamed the stage, screaming, pleading, finally crumbling in a heap at Danforth's feet. "Really wonderful work today, Jasper," Ginny told him when they broke for the day. "I really felt that. Nicely done. Everyone else," she cupped her hands around her mouth. "Hey, all of you, off book next week on this scene. Take a few pointers from Mr. Dent and get those lines memorized, okay?" "You're awesome," Connie said later, linking her arm in Jazz's as they headed to the Jeep. He shrugged. Pretending to be someone he wasn't, that wasn't the sort of thing he really wanted to be awesome at. But his being a part of the play with Connie seemed to make her happy. "I can't believe you're playing Tituba," he told her. "Like Ginny couldn't have given you another role?" "I wanted to play Tituba. It's a great role. But she's a slave." He opened Connie's door and helped her into the Jeep. "Doesn't that bother you?" "Should it?" "Well, you're black." "I am?" Connie looked at the back of her hand in feigned shock. "Holy crap, you're right. I am." "Ha ha." Jazz closed her door and got in on the driver's side. "I don't care about Africa," she said suddenly. "What?" "Africa," she explained. "I don't care about it." Jazz stared at her. She had that expression on her face that told him that she had thought long and hard about what she was saying. so he figured it was best to just get out of her way and let her do it. I mean, she went on, I care about the people who are hurting there, the wars, the genocide, the famine. I care about that, but no more than people on any other continent who are suffering. And I don't care about slavery either. I know I'm supposed to. I know I'm supposed to be angry about it, like my dad is. But I care about the now, Jazz. The now and the coming. I don't care about the past. Get it? He wasn't sure where she was headed with this, and the expression on her face told him that she was trying to make a point beyond the obvious one. She waited patiently while he thought about it. Lessons in being human. She told him something about herself and then turned it around on him. So you're saying maybe I should forget about my past and stop thinking about my father and serial killers and just get on with my life? She grinned and patted his cheek. Aw, see? And everyone told me you were just a pretty face. But you have... Just then, a man appeared in front of the Jeep as Jazz was about to turn the key, making him forget all about race and Connie and the crucible and the blood on Reverend Hale's head. If not for his hangdog posture and the age in his eyes, Jazz would have thought him no older than 40. But the defeated, dragging stoop of his stance made him look more like 60. He was a man crushed by the world, by life itself. He was also right in front of the Jeep and not moving, staring at Jazz as though disbelieving his own eyes. Jazz started the engine to give the guy a hint. Move it, pal. The man put a trembling hand on the Jeep's hood and left it there as he slowly made his way around the fender to Jazz's window and grabbed hold of the side mirror. Sighing, Jazz obeyed when the man motioned to him to roll down the window. You're Jasper Dent, aren't you? The man asked, his voice hollow and quavering. I've been looking for you. Now that he was face to face with the guy, Jazz saw that his eyes, muddy brown and bloodshot, were sunken, as though they had seen too much and retreated as far into his skull as possible. Heavy bags drooped under them. The man needed a week's worth of sleep at the very least. He wasn't a reporter. Of that much, Jazz was certain. Jazz had a lot of experience with the press, far beyond bottom-feeding morons like Doug Weathers. Reporters of all kinds made their ways to Lobel's Nod, interviewing residents, all of them trying to land the holy grail of torture porn journalism, an interview with Billy Dent's only child. Jazz could have been rich beyond his wildest dreams by now, just by accepting the offers from the sleazier newspapers and tabloid TV shows, or the seven-figure offer from a big New York publishing house for his memoir. We'll get someone to ghost the whole thing for you, they had promised him. The only writing you'll do is when you sign the check. I've been looking for you, the man said again, stumbling over his words. Just got to town today. Didn't think I'd... so soon. As if he just remembered what to do when meeting someone, the man extended a hand through the window. Jazz shot a look over at Connie, who was staring at the scene unfolding before her. He sighed and shook the man's hand. My name's Jeff Fulton. Hello, miss, he said, as though just seeing Connie for the first time. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't want to keep you. Harriet Klein was my daughter. Jazz stiffened and jerked his hand away from Jeff Fulton. Harriet Klein, Billy's 83rd victim in the official chronology, 84th in Jazz's own chronology. White, 27 years old. Pretty in an unnoticeable sort of way. You wouldn't stop to look at her on the street, but if you were in a room alone with her, you'd feel it. Unbidden images flashed before his eyes. The police photo of her body, nailed naked to the ceiling of a church in Pennsylvania. "Ooh, boy, that took all night," Billy had crowed, flushed with triumph and pride. Her head lolling downward, her limbs bearing the weight of her body. When the reverend who found the body called the police, the skin and muscle were already coming loose. The medical examiner arrived just before her left arm pulled free from the wall. 4 cops had to climb a scaffold and hold her in place so that they could get her down before the rest of her limbs shredded and dropped her amputated corpse to the floor. It had been one hell of a piece of work. I can't help you, Jess said. And he couldn't. This wasn't the first time he'd been approached by a victim's family. In the months after Billy Dent had been exposed and arrested, family members had flocked to Lobel's Knot along with the reporters, looking for a glimpse of the killer, looking for clues, looking for that most elusive factor of all, closure. In that time, Jazz had learned how to apply Billy's lessons for hiding in plain sight. Walk a certain way, dress a certain way, and people just won't notice you, especially in crowds. And Lobel's Knot had suddenly become very crowded. Jazz was mostly successful at avoiding personal encounters like this one. The emails and phone calls were another matter entirely. No matter what sort of precautions he took, someone always managed to track him down, and then the harassment would start up again, some pleading, some just pathetic, some of them outright threatening, like the woman who sent him detailed emails explaining how she wanted to kidnap Jazz and hire some big ex-cons to do to you what your father did to my daughter, and see how you like it when no one comes to save you. Jazz had actually reported her to the police. The incident that resonated with him, though, the worst one of them all. Jazz had been picking up his grandmother's prescription at the drugstore when a kid he didn't recognize, an outsider, approached him. Some unidentifiable emotion swirled in his eyes. Jazz took a step back, on the defensive, checking for the kid's weak spots already. But the kid hadn't been angry, or ready to attack. Instead, he'd started crying and begged, "Why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you stop him?" Over and over, until he just collapsed in a pile of anguish and tears, his family rushing over to help him to his feet and take him away. What was I supposed to do? Jazz wanted to ask the kid, wanted to ask the whole world. Was I supposed to kill him in his sleep? That would have been the only way to stop him. Kill my own father? Maybe that's what the world had wanted, though. It bothered Jazz that he'd never done anything to stop Billy. But on that day, what bothered him more was his reaction to the kid. The way he'd immediately gone on the defensive and started looking for ways to hurt him. And all along, the kid hadn't been angry or intent on revenge. He'd been wounded and hurt and mournful. And Jazz hadn't been able to tell the difference. "I think you can help," Fulton said now. "I just want to talk to you." No, I'm sorry, I can't." "Please." Fulton gripped the Jeep tightly, his knuckles whitening. "Just 5 minutes of your time." He gagged on his own emotions, tears welling up in his eyes. I just want to understand." "Please leave him alone." Connie spoke from the passenger seat, her voice quiet but strong. "He didn't kill your daughter." Harriet Klein. Reddish hair, green eyes, according to the file. But they were gone when the police found the body, of course. I was worried they'd drop out, what with her hanging upside down all night, so I took him out before I left her. At that point in the story, Billy had paused and looked at the ceiling, tapping his chin with one finger, as he often did when thinking hard. "Now where did I... Oh, that's right. I fed him to some wild cats in an alleyway a few blocks away. Almost forgot that part." Harriet had been taking night classes to get her new law degree. Her student ID had made its way into Billy's trophy collection in the rumpus room. "I just want to understand," Fulton said now, weeping openly. "Her mother, my ex. She's just blocked it all out. Remarried now, 2 new kids. Like you can just replace one with another, like it's that easy." He wiped his eyes with the back of one hand, keeping a death grip on the Jeep with the other. "But I have to know. Why? Why my little girl? Why did he..." "He can't tell you," Connie said, now with some heat. "Jazz, just go. Drive." Jazz shook his whole body as though waking from a nightmare. He'd been lost in Harriet Klein, remembering the photos, the story Billy had told, the student ID, which he'd touched so many times over the years. He gunned the engine, a threat. "We have to go," he told Fulton, and then reeled off the line he'd so often practiced over the past 4 years. "I'm sorry for your loss and for everything my father did." He put the Jeep into gear. Fulton's face fell. He knew he would get no further, and he only became more desperate and more pained. "I'm staying in town. Just a couple of days," he said, then fumbled in his pocket before bringing out a business card, which he pushed into Jazz's hand. "If you change your mind, my cell's on there. Please, anytime. I don't care. Anytime at all." Jazz refused to look at him again. He looked straight ahead and hit the gas. Fulton let go of the Jeep. "That sucked," Connie said. Jazz checked the rearview mirror as they pulled out of the school parking lot. Jeff Fulton stood in the same spot, watching them go. Then, as they turned onto the main road, he shuffled away with infinite slowness until he disappeared from Jazz's mirror. Jazz dropped Connie off at her house. "Do you want to come in?" she asked. He saw that her father was already home, his big SUV stationed in the driveway like a blockade. "No, that's all right." Connie's dad hated Jazz. The race stuff that didn't matter to Jazz and Connie mattered a lot to Connie's dad. Jazz could reel off the arguments, though he could never understand them. There is a history of white men doing what they want with black women in this country, Connie's dad had said to him once, barely controlling a rage that wanted to come to the surface. "Go read about Thomas Jefferson. Read about what white men used to do to black women in America." Jazz knew all about that. "I'm not one of those guys," he wanted to say. "I'm not a bad person. That was a long time ago." But who was he to talk about the past like that? Or to claim to be a good person? "Why didn't you stop him?" the boy had cried. "Should have taken that knife from the sink and cut him. Should have cut Billy. That's what the world wanted." Good boy. Good boy. In the Jeep now, Connie mistook Jazz's silence for worry about her father. She simply shrugged when she saw him looking at the SUV. "He won't do anything stupid. You can come in." "I just need to think," he told her. "I'm a little shaken up." She kissed him gently on the lips, then leaned in closer for a more urgent kiss. For a moment, he couldn't help thinking of what else had happened in this Jeep, with Billy pleading guilty to so many crimes. Most of the seized evidence had been returned, and Jazz couldn't afford a new car. But how many crimes had Billy planned from this seat? How many victims had he stalked behind this wheel? But then he let himself go and surrendered to the kiss, to the soft insistence of Connie's plush lips, to the warmth of her tongue, to the familiar tang of her hair. When they separated, she arched an eyebrow and asked in a passable Jamaican accent, "Are you sure you don't want to be coming in, Reverend Hale?" Jazz laughed. "Thanks, Tituba, but I have to go catch, define, and calculate the invisible world." They kissed again, a quick peck this time, and Connie got out of the Jeep, but not before saying, "Don't do anything stupid again, okay?" Last night's trip to the morgue flashed through him in an instant. "Why would I do anything stupid?" he asked, which made her happy. But it wasn't an agreement, and it also wasn't a lie. We will continue the next chapter in another episode.